video, I am going to go over how to invest in your 20s to become wealthy in your 30s. The steps are easy to follow, but it is going to take effort on your part, but the reward is absolutely worth it. So let's jump right in. Hey everyone, this is Lauren Mack with Hacking the Rat Race, and I would love for you to hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss any more videos on money, saving, and investing. So like I said, in this video, I am going to show you how to invest in your 20s to become truly wealthy in your 30s. It is no secret that earlier you start investing, the faster and more wealth you will build over time. The problem is oftentimes people in their 20s are just starting out in their career and they don't have a lot of money to invest. That being said, if you hustle hard and start investing in your 20s, you can become wealthy in your 30s and potentially even retire early. So let's jump right in. The first thing you want to avoid is student loans at all costs. Because once you get out of school, if you have student loans, so many times people have thousands of dollars of student loans, literally you're having to start behind because you have to pay this money back before you can even start saving and investing. And you might be thinking, I could just start investing. I don't need to pay it off first. And yeah, that's true. The problem is, depending on the return on your investment and the interest rate on your loan, it's generally a wash, if not a loss. So it is very important to not get student loans if you can avoid it at all costs. And if you already have student loans, like I did as well, then paying them off as soon as possible. Literally hustling to pay them off, because once you get out of debt, then you can start the process of truly becoming wealthy. So the quicker you can pay these off, the better. Number 2 is going to be looking at your income and expenses and creating a budget. And you might be thinking, oh my gosh, I do not want to create a budget. No way, I came here to get wealthy in my 30s. However, people that have a lot of money, it's not an accident. It's because they manage and make plans. They make goals and they plan for every single dollar. So again, this is so important, and why it may seem lame and boring, it isn't. And in fact, when you start managing your money and growing your wealth, it can become quite exciting. And if you don't know how to create a budget, I have another video called How to Create a Super Simple Budget. I'll link to it above in the show notes below. You can check that out. And if you do know how to create a budget, then I recommend creating one as soon as possible. This doesn't have to be a labor-intensive process. Literally get your income, expenses, make a plan for your money, and start following it. But again, it's so important to know what your expenses are and how much you are spending. The next thing you're going to need to do is look at your expenses and potentially minimize your expenses. So when you're coming up with this plan and managing your money, really look at the expenses that you have and trimming the fat off. This doesn't mean that you have to be miserable and cut every good thing out of your life to retire early. No, here's the deal. In order to become wealthy and or retire early, mostly for retiring early, the way that you're going to do that is you're going to get passive income that covers your monthly expenses. So if your goal is to say retire in your 30s, then your goal is going to be to have enough passive income to cover your expenses. So you need to know how much expenses you're going to be covering so you know how much money you have to make to be able to hit that mark. And again, if you're just guessing, not budgeting, not monitoring your expenses, then you're not going to know what that number is. So once you've created your budget, come up with some goals, come up with a plan, then you need to look at what your expenses are, how much money that is, because that is going to be your future goal if you're trying to retire early. And even if you're trying to become wealthy, once you start investing, you're going to have a wealth snowball, as I like to call it. It's just going to keep growing and growing and growing, but still it is very important to be monitoring your income and especially your expenses. The next step is making as much money as you can in your 20s. And this may seem like, no kidding, that's no brainer. However, I oftentimes see people, they get 2 options, maybe 2 job offers, or maybe they're looking at 2 career paths. And maybe the difference in pay is $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 a year. Who knows? It doesn't matter. The point is this. The decision comes down to, wow, I could take this job and I really love it and I would love spending time there. Or I could take job 2, which could make me so much more money. I don't really think it would make me happy. Okay, if job 2 is going to make you absolutely miserable and you're gonna wanna cry every day when you wake up because you have to go into that office, definitely don't choose job 2. But if it's tolerable or you like it or it's not horrendous, I would choose job 2. And I know people are often given advice. Go with your heart, go with what you love, go with what you can do forever. But if you're trying to retire early, you're not gonna be doing this forever. So I recommend hustling and making as much money as possible. Now you may be thinking, I don't have 2 job offers. I'm lucky to have one. I literally just got out of school. That's fine. Then when you get to that job, hustle, give 110%, get overtime if it's allowed, show up and make your presence known. That way when other opportunities come up, when raises, bonuses, that you are at the top of that ladder. So just make sure you hustle as hard as you can at your current job to make as much money as you can. That, with limiting your expenses, is going to give you the maximum amount of money to invest. The next thing I want you to do is build up an emergency fund as soon as possible. This is assuming that you've already paid off all of your debt. That needs to be number 1. And you'll have a small emergency fund during that time. However, if your debt's paid off, you're hustling hard, I would still recommend getting an emergency fund of at least 3 to 6 months of your expenses. And again, if you're controlling your expenses, then that should be enough to cover it, but also the amount you have to save for your emergency fund would be lower. But getting that emergency fund is really important. And you might think it's counterintuitive to your investing, but it is literally an insurance policy. You never know when a series of events will happen in your life that can literally wipe you out. So it's so important to have that emergency fund, get it up, and if you spend it on emergencies, that's okay. Just refill it before you continue going down your investing journey. The next thing you're gonna do is start investing in things that are going to give you passive income. Now, I wanna give you a passive income alert because here's the thing. This word is thrown around so often, and you see courses for $997. I will teach you how to make passive income in your underwear, on your computer, at your house. And most of that is absolute garbage, and people end up losing so much money. The thing about passive income is one of 2 things. You either have to invest money or your time. So if you're investing money, that could be in things like real estate, dividends, things like high interest savings accounts, where basically you're investing your money, you're getting a return with as little effort as possible. The other option to get passive income is investing your time. And that could be things that will give you reoccurring income. This could be like creating a course, and again, not like the $997 course that I just mentioned, even though that probably is one way, but companies like Skillshare or Udemy, or there are so many other options. You create a course, a good quality course for something that people are looking for, you put it out there, people are buying your course, that revenue is coming in. Again, YouTube. Making YouTube videos is another way of making passive income because it does take a lot of work. You do have to hustle hard, but if I make this video, then it's gonna be out there over time. And there are so many other options. These are just some obvious examples. But again, in both examples, it's either gonna take money and hustling or your time. And even with YouTube, it's not like you just make a video and suddenly money just comes pouring in. Or making a course. You don't just make one course and just slap it together and money comes pouring in. With passive income, again, it is hustling hard, investing your money or your time. For the sake of investing in your 20s to build wealth in your 30s, you can do both of these. Creating a side hustle that's going to bring in passive income, or even maybe more active income where you have to work a little bit harder, but back to that whole hustling concept. Even with your side hustle, if you make extra money that you can put toward your expenses and investing or paying off debt, the quicker you are going to get down the road. You might be thinking, Lauren, I have no idea. I wouldn't even know where to start finding a side hustle. I have another video, I'll link to it above and in the show notes below. It's called 30 unique side hustles when you desperately need it. And again, this is just 30 options, but these days there are so many options, and maybe you have something that's been burning in your heart. So I highly recommend getting a side hustle. You can look at those options or coming up with your own. One caveat here, I would just be very careful with a side hustle is the startup costs. I would recommend bootstrapping it at all costs, and that way you're limiting the money that you're investing in that so you can put it into other investments that will bring you passive income. So we just went over side hustles and methods for creating passive income using your time. Now, once you start building up your money because you're hustling hard, you're limiting your expenses, then you can start investing your money in things that will bring you passive income. One of those being real estate. Real estate is a great way to have passive income, particularly if you have a property manager. So you would initially invest in a house. Some people buy their first house, live in it for a year, fix it up, rent it out, and buy another house, or you can just buy a house as an investment property. The thing is, if you choose option one and you buy it as your private residence for a year, then you can put less money down, so you have to save less money to get into that investment. But either way, getting into real estate investment with long-term tenants is a really good way to make passive income. I absolutely love real estate investing. I've had 4 houses, I'm down to 2 now. They have great profit margins, and we even have property managers. So literally, unless there is some kind of issue that they just need to get our permission to address, they take care of everything with a tenant, and we just receive checks coming in. That being said, if you decide to invest in real estate, which is awesome and a great way to make passive income, you also need to have enough money for reserves. I've seen so many people fall into this pitfall. They get really excited, they get investment property, they don't have reserves, and they quickly can get into trouble. That's because there will be vacancies, there will be repairs, and if you don't have the money to cover these, then investing in real estate can be super risky and actually create massive losses. The most important thing with real estate investing is A, making sure that the numbers work. Double, triple check the numbers. You can do this with your realtor on your own. That is a whole nother section on how to do real estate investing. But from this perspective, just make sure that you have proper reserves. That is so important. But real estate investing is a way that you can leverage money other people are paying back to create passive income. And it is a way that you can easily start investing in your 20s to become wealthy in your 30s, especially if you do the method where you buy a house, live in it, rent it. Buy a house, live in it, rent it. It has the least amount of risk, in my opinion, and it can build wealth over your 20s so that you are wealthy and potentially able to retire in your 30s. So the second option for getting passive income is dividend investing. And this is where you invest in stocks that give you dividends in return. So you could have appreciation on the stock, but you can also have dividends depending on the performance of that company. So basically you're investing your money over time, that money grows, and you keep getting more and more dividends. And this is truly a passive way of investing. That being said, you do need to stay on top of the companies that you're investing in, looking at the companies that you're going to invest in, and anytime you're going to do any kind of investing, I highly recommend talking to your financial advisor. Your financial advisor can go over your specific situation, your needs, your risk tolerance, all these things, but I would definitely recommend talking to them about dividend investing because this is another great option for passive income. And again, don't forget to talk to your financial advisor. I am not a financial advisor, and this is not financial advice. So obviously, when comparing real estate to dividend investing, there are pros and cons to both. So I highly recommend discussing both options and what that looks like for you with a realtor, your financial advisor, maybe even your tax advisor, because there are tax benefits to both options. Again, I'm not a CPA or a financial advisor, so I highly recommend you talk to your own financial advisor. But at the end of the day, if in your 20s you hustle hard, you get your income and expenses together, you minimize your expenses to a reasonable amount, then you get passive income either from dividend investing, real estate, or hustling and doing a side hustle that creates passive income. Once you can cover your expenses with this passive income, that is when you can finally retire if you choose and you can become truly wealthy in your 30s. So I want to hear from you in the comments below. What tactics are you using in your 20s to become wealthy in your 30s? Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button. It literally costs nothing and it does so much for this channel. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any more videos on money, saving, and investing. Thanks again, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.